Hey everybody, welcome to NorCal Sports Network Giants postgame show. Lou and I are holding down the fort tonight for Dan, who, as the Giants people say, are on assignment. Giants had a big time win tonight, scored a bunch of runs, and we will recap the game for you. But first, let's shout out the sponsor tonight, Chapman Law Group, located in Marin County, licensed in all of California for all your legal needs. If you have a personal injury situation, don't settle with the insurance company. That's what they want you to do, and that's how they get you. So call Chapman Law Group first, 415-613-9483, and let them know that NorCal Sports Network sent you. So the Giants pretty much destroyed the Cubs tonight, and we'll recap that game. But they also won last night, and there was quite a few people at the game, and four of them were Lou, Dan, Eric, and Glenn sitting down there in Lou's seats right next to the dugout. And I wanted to kind of have Lou recap his experiences there last night because that was a heck of a game also.
Sure. It was basically turned out that we had the hot corner because Abraham's he's having a few problems. He's in and out of the hospital. In case you guys don't know and you haven't been on in a while, Dan is actually in the Philippines. His father-in-law has passed away, so he's going to be gone for a while, and me and Dallas are going to do our best to hold the fort. But getting to last night, a lot of fun. It was the first time I had met Eric and Glenn. So, we see him on the air, but when you get to meet him, and there was a huge turnout. Lowe's had a bunch of guys at Longbridge Pizza. I met Aaron Lost, the cookie man, baked that dough. And it was a lot of fun. Great win by the Giants. And, it was just good to see these guys because, I've never met Dallas. One of these days, I'm going to get a chance to meet Dallas. But it was nice. A lot of friendly people from the chat coming up. A lot of people asking, hey, Eric, are you the guy? Hey, Dan, are you the guy? People came up asking for photos, so it was a lot of fun. So, we met Robbie Deville. We met the other Robbie, Aaron Lost. Everyone was so nice. So, hey, thank you guys. It was really nice to come up, and nothing better than doing our show with me and Dallas with a win. It's sort of been a while where it's just been. First of all, I don't know if me and Dallas have ever done it just us. But with Dan, usually we're coming up with excuses. But tonight was, a big win. It was a laugher. I can't remember the last time there was a laugher, especially at home. And, as Dan says, they can't score at night. But the last two nights, the weather has been phenomenal, and I think that might have something to do with it. And, we'll go over the whole entire game. We'll do it. But I just wanted to say again, if you didn't get a chance to see us last night, I know Dan wants to do another meet and greet. Because it was very positive, a lot of fun, and we're all on the same page. With the hot corner. Eric and Dan, they do their show. Me and Dan do our show. Eric and Glenn do their show. But it was a lot of fun, a lot of great times, and thank you for everybody. So that's why we didn't do the show last night. I apologize. I actually filled in for Eric on their show, just, because they needed somebody, because it's tough to do the show when you're by yourself. But, that was just a little recap of last night. And like I said, Dan is still flying. He's going to be landing in about half an hour for this. But, we'll talk about tonight's show, a laugher, a lot of fun. And Dallas, why don't you start off? What did you think about the game, that we can go over inning by inning, and we'll go from there.
Well, this was kind of a tale of two different games, it seemed like. It started out kind of a typical Giants fashion where kind of a pitching duel. The offense wasn't getting going much. And then Wisenhunt gave up the 3-run homer, and I'm thinking, oh no, this is not good. And then all of a sudden it changed. Devers hit the big home run, and all of a sudden we're back in the game, and then they just kept adding on more and more and more as the game went on. 3 in the third, 3 in the fifth, 3 in the sixth, 1 in the seventh, 1 in the eighth. So that was it's crazy. We don't see that from the Giants too often. Usually, if they score at all, they score in a little patch at some point during the game, and then that's the end of it. But this team certainly looks a lot more lively now. It feels to me too little, too late, and it's a shame because we went through that prolonged weeks, months long slump. I don't even know how long it was, start to finish, but it was just a grueling stretch where every night you come in here and it was just like the same story over and over again. And they're snapping out of it a little bit, which is great. So it was a fun one tonight. But it's you just feel like, boy, it sure would have been nice to see some games like this when it counted. And of course, those games still count, and of course, they're not mathematically eliminated, but they're so far down and need so many other teams to lose that it's a little bit tough to keep hopes up at this point. But you want to take the positives away from it, and if they're starting to play well and get some momentum and get some comfortability on this team with some of them, I think that's a good sign. So, what were your overall thoughts?
Yeah, I thought, I'm going to go back 3 games with them coming back in the 9th at Milwaukee. I think was probably a much bigger win than we made it out to be. Gave them a little flow last night. I thought what was nice is the Giants add-on tonight. They added on. I mean, 12 runs, 13 hits. That's what we need more of with the Giants. The last couple nights we get these solo homers like we did today with Devers, and then we're sort of stagnant till like the 5th inning. Like last night, it was like, we got the leadoff homer, and then it was like, all right, let's go. But tonight, they bounced back after the 3-1. And I will say one thing with Whisenhunt, boy, he was like Houdini. I know he gave it the 3-run homer, but it seemed like every inning, the Cubs had runners first and third, bases loaded, 1 out. And, Dallas brought up a great point, the double play. Sometimes if you just get the ball over the plate and make them with the pressure, the double plays help tonight because, easily could have been like 6-7, 8-0 before you knew it. 8-1 with the Cubs. But, the Giants got through it. Whisenhunt got through 5 somehow, 85 pitches and, nice big add-ons. The problem is, I think Dallas, you made a great point. Great to see, but, it doesn't really help when the team you're chasing, where we're 8 back, won again. It's almost like you bring up the timing. Early in the week, we said, okay, hey, I hope we can play good against the Cubs and Philly can do something with the Mets. Sort of like how we have the Cubs number and Milwaukee's number. Minnesota, the Mets, especially at home, haven't lost like in 2 years now to Philly. They have their number. Mm-hmm. They picked up 4 games in a week. The problem with us still is, we picked up some games on the Reds, but they had to go to LA. Remember, we still have to go to LA for 4, and LA's coming here. So, it's good to see. It just points out that this team can do, quality stuff. I think tomorrow is a real big game because, first of all, not too many times do you see these teams score 12 runs and then they come back the next day. Usually you scored 8, 10, 12 runs. You barely scrape 1 the next day. So I think tomorrow is a big game where we see if the Giants can, first of all, get the sweep. Because if they don't get the sweep, really they only gain 1 game on, the Cubs. That's why you got to get the sweep somehow. And you got your ace. You got Webb going tomorrow. And, this is where Webb has to come through because I think it's going to be tough for the Giants to come back to get 4 or 5 runs just because they scored 12 tonight. As I always say, save some for tomorrow. But, hey, after our last couple of homestands, let's see if we can get the sweep. If you guys remember our last homestand, we won the first game and we won the last. That was it. We lost everything in between. So I think, this could be a great homestand where if they can get the win tomorrow, you get a sweep. And then you go in against Baltimore that, to tell you the truth, doesn't have great pitching. They maybe have 1 or 2 guys that are adequate, but the Giants are going to have to score because Baltimore can hit. So it should make it a fun week. And, I hope our winner of our squares, he's going Friday night. So hopefully he can see a good win and see a great game. So, but I thought tonight was good because it was sort of a team effort. I know there were a lot of home runs, but when you get 13 hits, Devers, of course, 4 for 4, 2 bombs, but I still think, it was spread out, which was nice. I don't like it when we have 2 guys get, 8 hits and then the rest. And I think the other key thing tonight, only 4 strikeouts. And, we were at a thing where 10 out of 12 games, we were averaging double figures. And, where we only 4 strikeouts. It's amazing if you just put the ball in play, take walks, and just play good defense. And I think the last couple of nights, I think our defense has really sort of improved too. I know we all talk about, last night, what's his name? Our guy, who, Gilbert, was in center. Hey, those balls are not easy. It was his first game last night. I thought his defense was good. I thought, Schmidt made an incredible catch last night. But today, these guys are doing what needs to be done to get the W, and they did it tonight. So,
yeah, they did. They played good defense. So they turned some good double plays. At least one of them was not an easy one. They had to rely on Casey Schmidt's arm to get the back half of that double play. The one that went off the pitcher's glove, 1-6-4-3.
I mean,
yeah, that's lucky. They did have some air, like Elliot Ramos. He just needs to get his head in the game. He threw that one ball, missed the cutoff man, and then the runner advanced, and it didn't end up mattering because they hit the 3-run homer after that. But at that point, I'm feeling, this is pretty shaky,
Yeah.
And then, of course, the Cubs gave it right back when they threw the ball and hit.
Yeah, hopefully
Chapman
not
in the helmet.
Chapman, hit him right in first base and scored a run. Yeah, that was big, And then you got to remember, Chapman got hit in the noodle, and hopefully got buzzed and made him wiser. And then the next time up, he hit a homer.
Right. So well, and 3 for 4, we give Chapman a lot of crap, but he had a great game today.
About time. This might be his first game where he's really come back since, he had a pretty tough week. I know he had 11 out of 14 strikeouts, but today, hey, he did a great job today. Giovanni, no, I'm not getting on the bandwagon. How can you say the Giants are I'm on the bandwagon when right now, let me tell you one thing about the chat. Okay. There is no playoffs. We're not even 500 yet. So once a team gets 500, then we can talk about our future. We've now won 2 in a row. And if you look, we're still 3 games below. So, there is no bandwagon. The Giants aren't going anywhere, but at least they're being a team. And that's really what I want the last 28 games left of the season. I want them to be productive. I want to see the youth. I want our pitching to perform. You got to remember Rodriguez, he's probably not going to pitch the rest of the season. So let's see how our bullpen's going to do, let's see if we can be spoilers. I mean, I'd love for us to, when LA comes to town, take 2 out of 3, maybe take 3 out of 4 there and see if the Padres can, go by us. But, you guys got to remember, we're playing well, but Arizona's only a half game behind us. We're at home. These teams, like Cincinnati's at LA. Okay. All these teams, San Diego is at Seattle. They're all on the road. We're at home. So we got to take advantage because, we're still not even 500 at home. So, let's see what we can do. But it's, it's one of those
things. If they win the next 3 and get up to 500, then that's a big stretch to get to there.
Yeah.
Because if they go 3 out of 5, then they still got 2 more games to get to 500, So
that's why I think tomorrow's a big game. You got Webb going, you have a chance to sweep a team in front of you. You got a chance to only be 2 games out. But if they lose tomorrow, then it sort of reverses it a little bit. So I think tomorrow's, a big game, hopefully a big crowd. I thought the last couple of nights, I know the majority of it's probably 40% Cub fans. You can see it by that visitors dugout. There are Cub fans everywhere. But, I know they had 32,000. I think tonight they had 36. And, with a day game tomorrow, who knows? Maybe they'll show up. But, why don't we, Dallas, why don't you have the honors? Go over and do your 3 stars of the game.
Sure. Okay. Well, number 1, I'll start with number 3. I'm going to go with a lot of options tonight.
Yeah. Finally.
Number 3, I'll give Chapman. He deserves credit. We give him a lot of crap, like I said, but when he comes through, then it's a lot better for the Giants than when he's just silent and striking out all night. When him and Devers are both on fire in a game, Giants are going to win a lot of games. So that's what we saw tonight. Number 2 star I'll give to I'm going to give it to Piguero. Whisenhunt was fine.
Good call.
But Piguero came in, gave him 2 innings.
Boom, boom, boom.
With 3 strikeouts, no hits. He, little shaky probably at some points, like he was shaking his head when he was walking off the mound, but he shouldn't be disappointed in his performance. He did really well. So, and the Giants bullpen, they're pretty decimated at this point. They traded Doval, they traded Rogers. Rodriguez is hurt, Miller's hurt, so they're dealing with Piguero, who we never heard of before a couple of games ago.
It's like a recycle bullpen. I agree.
Lucchesi has been much better than I thought he would be, and he's one of the main guys now. And other people they're stepping up. Gage has stepped up. A lot of guys have stepped up.
Yeah.
So got to give them credit. I can't say I have a ton of faith in the bullpen, but hey, they're holding it down tonight. Now, of course, they had a big lead, so it's a little bit easier. But it's they can go out and just try and throw strikes and not have to worry about giving up a dinger. And I'll go, of course, with Devers. 4 for 4, 2 home runs, 1 opposite field home run. If he can just get comfortable in this park and just build up some confidence in hitting in this park, that would be huge for the Giants. Because I was surprised they pitched to him that second time. I mean, he hit a long foul ball, and I was like, boy, this guy's pretty close to dialed. And then he threw another fastball, and he just drilled it. So, heck of a game. Heck of a game by Devers there. So, those are my 3.
All right. Well, good. That's a very good call. I'm going to do tonight. My 3rd star is the whole pitching staff. I know Whisenhunt didn't have it, but he was like Houdini. He was in trouble. It seemed like every single inning. I know he gave up the 3-run homer,
but that was the only hit he gave up a run on. Miraculously.
Exactly. So, and I thought the rest of the bullpen really stepped up. All 3 of them, Seymour, of course, and then of course, Beck. So it was good to see. So the whole pitching staff tonight's giving me my number 3 star. Number 2, I'm not going to give it to Chapman. That's too obvious, but I'm going to give it to Ramos. The one good thing about Ramos is he's not letting his defense affect his offense. So, and again, him leading off tonight, it's amazing. I don't know when Lee's ever going to lead off. It's so weird how they do the lineup. But I thought Ramos had a good night. And, of course, my number 1 star is Devers. But I thought what was better about Devers, too, is he was 4 for 4, but he also had a big walk. And, I like guys that even though they're hitting well are going to take the free base. He was up 5 times tonight, no strikeouts, no nothing. The first homer was bomb. The second one was an oppo, and I think that's really key where, this is why we traded for him. And if he can do this 10% of the time and, no strikeouts and put the ball in play, it's going to be good. And I sort of like what he did at the very end. He didn't try to kill the ball to try to get a 3rd homer, just like fungoed it for a little base hit, for his 4th hit of the day in the bottom of the 8th. So, yeah, a complete win. Like I said, I just hope, we can put some scrape tomorrow because, it seems like when Webb pitches where we're going for the kill, he'll do his part for about 3-4 innings, but the offense doesn't really do anything, and it's like, all right, so now it's the 4th. And if Webb gives up a couple runs, it's like, let me put it this way. Verlander and Webb would love a nice 12-3 win. They've just been sort of suffering where they're doing their job and we're just not putting up the numbers. But, it happens. But, hey, overall, they go for it. And I see we have a super chat from Jeff. Why didn't Williams tell Devers to slide into 3rd? I do not remember that. Do you happen to remember that part, Dallas?
I don't remember that.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Jeff. I don't remember. Do you remember what inning that was?
Well, he hit the ground rule double in the, and then after that, maybe he made it into third. Let me look at it.
It was the ground rule double automatically because it was actually the center fielder for the Cubs. They were gonna score both runs. Instead, he just let it bounce, and then it was the ground rule double. Right. But I don't remember him sliding into third. Sorry, Jeff. I don't remember. Tell us when it was, and we can look it up. I apologize.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things. But yeah.
So tomorrow they're going against the lefty Imanaga.
Yep.
This seems like they're just trying to stack lefties against the Giants. Like last night, all the relievers they brought in were left-handers. I think
back to back. Yep.
Right, and now they're going. A guy has a 3 earned run average, 8 and 6, 90 strikeouts. That's going to be a tough rest. That's the type of pitcher the Giants have a tough time with. So
yeah.
Hopefully they can keep this mojo going and put some runs on the board for Webb. But Webb in the day he's usually pretty good. So I think the Giants certainly have a fighting chance tomorrow. But at this point, you're right. They need to get greedy and go for sweeps, and they need to stop playing down to the competition. They can play up to the Cubs and they can play up to the Brewers and win those series. Great. But you got to keep that. You got to put your foot on the throat of the Orioles, and the Rockies are coming up. These are the teams you have to get greedy and beat if you have any, thought of trying to make a comeback. But the whole season they've kind of played down to the competition, and that is a trend that needs to stop. A lot of trends need to stop. Striking out 10 plus times, that needs to stop. Playing down to the competition needs to stop. Being completely inept against left-handers needs to stop. So there's a lot of things the Giants have to do to get better. But tonight was a step in the right direction for sure. They did very little wrong tonight.
Yeah, no, it was a big win. And, I think I'm just going to bring up the schedule. I think you bring up a good point. So, we got the day game tomorrow. Then we got Baltimore. The thing about Baltimore is their pitching's not great, but they can hit. So we got to make sure, we put up the numbers and, it's going to be a Friday, Saturday, I think another 4:20 start because, the Fox, and then, of course, Sunday. And then, I know we go to Colorado, but Colorado's actually playing good ball. They're a lot better than their record is, and they're a lot different team at home. But, that road trip's going to be tough because it's sort of deceiving. We go to Colorado for 3, and then we go to St. Louis for 3. St. Louis is on a 10-game road trip. So by the time they get home, they're a different team at home compared to on the road. Well, we all know, being on the road, the Giants play well on the road, which is sort of remarkable because it seems like the rest of the NL West everybody has problems on the road except the Giants. But we then come back home we have that road trip. Then we come back home for Arizona and then the Dodgers for 3. Then we go to Arizona for 3 and the Dodgers for 4. So, you got to remember, Arizona's only a half game behind us, guys. I know that they, got rid of a lot of their talent, but, it's not going to be easy. It's going to be a battle. And you got to remember one thing about going to Colorado. I don't know here. Let's see who's going to be pitching. So it's going to be Wisenhunt, Webb. It'll be Wisenhunt's first time in Colorado. So you don't know how that changeup's going to be. And with our bullpen, when you go to Colorado, it's almost like 4 games instead of 3 because you use so many pitchers just to get through the 9 innings. We might score 10, but we might give up 10. So it's one of those things where, it's going to be tough because then you go from there to more of a pitcher's ballpark in St. Louis. We just need to make sure we just need consistent starts in Colorado. We have trouble doing 5-6 innings. Our starters need to at least give us 4. You know what I mean? Especially in Colorado because you're going to use the bullpen and you don't want your bullpen shot, any of these games.
Yeah. And we already talked about how the Giants bullpen is pretty light at this point. They're going to need those guys. And then obviously their rotation, other than Webb and Ray, they got Wisenhunt tonight held it together for 5. But there's no guarantee if that's going to be the case in Colorado. So
everything changes. Curveballs don't work. Sliders don't work.
Yeah,
he's
he
gonna
doesn't
to
have
do
a
it.
lot of. He has 3 pitches, and if
Yeah.
one pitch isn't working, then that really limits his options. He
Yep.
becomes, and the one he really only throws 2 for most of the time. So
Yeah.
we'll see. You never know. And with baseball, that's why they play the games. Just to
Correct.
see if he can. Maybe he comes out and he's dynamite. It could happen.
Yeah.
And maybe Devers realize, will love hitting there. I know since the schedule, he would play in Boston. He would play there every other year, one series. So he's been there a little bit, but now with the Giants, he gets a heavy dose of Coors Field. So
Yeah.
I imagine he'll like it there.
Yeah. 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 So hey, it was a big night again. We're finally playing good at home. We just need to be consistent. And I think, with so many 28 games left or 29 games, all I want to see the last games is just consistency, good playing. I don't mind if they lose, but, be a ball team. If you lose 5-3, that's going to happen. But, hit, steal a few, hit with runners scoring position, play good defense. Give us just an opportunity with good pitching and give us an opportunity to win. That's all I really want the last 28, and I want it to be where everybody's playing well. So then when Buster has his press conference, he's going to actually have to do something, for the offseason. Again, we're 8 games behind the Mets. It's going to be very tough. I mean, you got to remember with 29 games, we have 8 games we got to pick up on one team, even though there's a couple other teams in front of us, right? So if they go 500, say they have 30 games and they go 15-15, that means we have to go 24 and 5 to catch.
Yeah, you need help. You need the other teams to
extremely help. It's
implode.
8 games, not one game. So it's one of those things. And I know somebody in the chat's going to say, Lou, did you look at the records? It's only 7. They have the tiebreaker. So that's why it's 8. So,
right.
I just wanted to bring that up. It's one of those things.
Yeah. So I looked yesterday, it was like 3% chance.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe we're at 3.1 now. It's not, it's a long shot. It's not one that you should be betting a lot of money on at this point.
Sure.
But yeah, fun nevertheless.
Yeah. I mean, it's sort of funny. I'm looking. The Giants have won 4 in a row after losing 4 in a row. And, they won 2, but they lost 8. So that just shows you how inconsistent we are. And, we all talk about how the Giants started. And I thought Buster, I don't know if you guys saw, he was on KBR and he said like the season's sort of like a third, and a third. The first third of the season, the Giants were playing well. They're doing everything good. The second with the trade, with the Melvin extension, for some reason, it just was very inconsistent. They had a losing record. And then the last third has just been like we dropped. I mean, literally playing so bad. Basically, he was saying, there's no excuse, but we just weren't doing anything good. Starting pitching wasn't good. The bullpen wasn't good. Hitting wasn't good. We struck out way too much, too many errors. I mean, there were some games where we had 3 errors and only had, 3 hits. You're never going to win like that. So it's.
Yeah. And it probably was more than a third.
Yeah, he just cut third season.
Right.
I think it's more like.
The quarter was great. And then the next 2 quarters were. The second quarter they played 500, right? We looked at that very long. Like they had the hot start and they played 500 ball for months, and then the Devers trade happened and they've been the worst team in baseball since then. And
Boston's been the second best.
Right. Yeah, I'm sure everyone saw that graphic on social media. But the Giants were dead last, and so maybe the last 2 games maybe helped them a little bit. But
hey, you got to remember. Before the Milwaukee series, we knew how good Milwaukee is. We took 2 out of 3 from them. We know how good the Cubs are. We at least are going to take 2 out of 3 from them, in the last 6 games. So, things are looking up. I mean, hey, I'm excited for tomorrow, a nice day game, and see if they can pull the sweep. see if Webb can perform. But, it's very tough when you score 12 runs the night before to come back. I'm thinking maybe Giants at the most might get 3, and they're going against a lefty, and they're going against, a guy that throws a lot of junk. And, for some reason, the Giants just can't perform to those guys, or it takes them like 6 or 7 innings to actually figure them out. So,
right.
Hopefully tomorrow if they can get something up early, get a few runs up and let Webb do the job, we can see what we can do.
Yeah. And if they can take some pitches and get the guy out of the game, by the 5th inning, then you have 4 innings to, they'll probably still bring in lefties out of the bullpen, but at least, the bullpen, you have a different shot every inning as opposed to.
No, and that's a great point because it always seems like the Giants pitchers are at 87 pitches in the 5th inning. It's never the opposing team, where their pitchers got, 75, 80 in the 4th or 5th inning. It's always us. So, I think that's something.
But, they've also, the Giants, I think, have been more aggressive early in the count lately, which I think has helped them. I think they were getting a little too passive for a while, which I liked when you take pitches and you go deeper in the count. But if you take pitches early in the count and they're strikes, then you're behind in the count.
0-2, yeah. And they're right over.
And that's a recipe.
Some of these pitchers are like, here, on a tee, hit me. And we just, we're letting them go. Yeah, no, great point.
We made some adjustments. It was too little too late. I mean, this was an epic stretch of bad games. I mean, in Giants history, there's probably been very few slumps that were that pronounced and that bad. So it's been a weird season, but hopefully it can continue this way and kind of finish like it started. That would be great.
And Dallas, I didn't talk to you. What do you think about the 2026 schedule being announced? Giants would be the first game of the season next year. I don't know if everyone saw that yesterday. It's going to be a night game. Yankees, Giants to start the season on the Wednesday, and they'll be the only game in town. So it's, that's a nice little honor for the Giants.
It is cool. They almost always in the history of this ballpark have started on the road.
Yeah.
I think maybe they've started once or twice at home, but I think it's almost always, someone said almost always. I had heard earlier, a couple of years ago that it was always on the road. I don't know if that's true or not. I haven't looked it up. But that's rare for the Giants to start at home. And against the Yankees, that's going to be a big, that's a big name to be coming into town to start the season. And then they finish the season at home also. So they get to start and finish, which is nice. I think that's pretty rare that happens.
It's the Dodgers they end with. So, it's sort of weird where they start the season with the Yankees and then they end with the Dodgers. And I think, it's going to be, we all talk about the attendance. They're going to have 3 or 4 fireworks show and every giveaway because with the schedule announced, I think it's Colorado, Arizona, Detroit, Kansas City. I mean, like if you were to pick 10 teams you don't want on the weekend that don't draw anybody, it's those 10 teams. So,
so you're going to get some more bobblehead giveables on the weekends and get the hometown fans to come to the park and not sell the tickets.
It happens. But, hey guys, most importantly, we're here for you. And I think, the great thing is it's this job gets old when we're always losing, but it's a nice, big win tonight. We go for the big one tomorrow. And, it's sort of fun to watch. You know what I mean? Like, there's not too many times where you get excited to watch the Giants on a day game, especially at home. As Dan says, we need to change the whole ballpark. We got to bring out Legos and redo it because we can't hit. But look what happened tonight. I mean, what was it? 4 homers. So, why change the ballpark? I think it's just the personnel sometimes. But I think also, last night, tonight was more, we have the Indian summer in San Francisco in case some of the chat is in the Bay Area. I think it was like 63 degrees at first pitch. It's been very sort of not humid, but no wind, no nothing. And, they performed tonight like a great team.
Absolutely. It's fun to get one like that every once in a while.
We need a couple laughers. Yeah. So, All right. Well, what do you think, Dallas? I mean, does anybody in the chat have any questions? Again, you guys all know why Dan's not here. And Dallas, as you saw, we were down in San Diego. That was quite of a chore. I was with Dan and his brother and a couple other people, Marcus, who also was down there. So I got to meet him. But big contingent of Giant fans, and it wasn't even the vacations, that go down there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there must have been probably 2,500 fans just in our area, all Giants fans.
That's great. I mean, we used to travel back in the Bonds days so well. The Giants fans would go down to San Diego and take that place over. And there has been a little bit of a resurgence in attendance at our own ballpark this year.
Yeah.
And maybe there's a kind of a groundswell and people are getting that, the Buster mojo is starting to take hold, and hopefully they can, keep that going where they can go down to San Diego, go down to LA, go to, try and travel a little bit more and support the team. And even at home, especially though, you want to be able to, no one wants to play to an empty ballpark, and the fans can energize the team and try and, get things going a little bit. So that's good to see.
Hey,
yeah.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, what I was going to say is, hey, Ben Bamboo, the Giants did play in a game last year. It was actually in Alabama for Willie Mays' birthday. They played last year in a Negro field where Willie Mays actually played his first major league game with the Negro League. So the Giants did do one. The Field of Dreams now, they haven't done that for a while. And I think what's sort of taken over is, if you remember, they do now the Little League game, after the Little League World Series. The pros go there for one game only, and then they come back. So I think that's sort of taken over. Plus, the Field of Dreams thing, I think it was only a one-shot deal. And, that was when the Yankees played. But I can't remember them doing it in a while. Can you remember, Dallas, the last time they did the game in Iowa, the Field of Dreams game?
I can't remember when it was. I can look it up real fast.
But again, I think it's just sort of stopped because you had the Little League game that, is pretty cool that they do every year. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Dallas.
I'm looking to see. Let's see here. 2021 and 2022 were the two games. So they haven't done it since then, but also it's a attendance of 7,800. So it's kind of a novelty, and people have to go to Iowa, which is, I've been to Iowa. It's a little out of the way from a lot of people. So I guess that's the point of it, being in a
and then next
field.
year too, I know the Giants play March 25th, I believe, is the opener, but isn't next year the the World Baseball Classic too? Isn't that next year too? So you can only have so many times. Again, it might be part of the major league contract, but when you have the World Baseball Classic. And I was sort of disappointed. They're only doing it in Miami. I didn't see anywhere on the West Coast where the games are. I mean, I liked it when Oracle hosted one time. I think it was probably 6 years ago, because I think they do it every 3 years where they had the games here. But I only
March of next season, March 5th through 17th.
So, which, hey, I think it's a great idea. Get to see some of these other places. And again, USA, it's not a big deal. But boy, it's sort of amazing how big it is with with some of these other countries. I mean, if you guys remember the last one, when Shohei for Japan went up against his teammate for the Anaheim Angels, it was a huge thing. So, and I don't think I'm not really a big fan of it now, because I don't think we have any Giants that would be participating. I mean, I'd love to see Devers, but. But next year also, they announced the All-Star Game is going to be in Philadelphia, especially with the anniversary of July 4th. So that should be pretty cool. And if you guys haven't seen it, all the schedules. So one of the things I will recommend is, if you guys do want to travel, the Giants play, I believe, in late April to Chicago. That's always a great trip. The Giants are also going to go to Fenway. That'll be the first time Devers is going to go back. That might be worth, a great trip. And, when you guys get back, that's where you tell Dan, hey, Dan, let's do something, try to put something together, because that would be a fun trip next year.
And Philip says they announced the Field of Dreams is coming back next year. So,
okay. I did not hear that.
I didn't either.
Sorry,
so thanks, Philip, for the update there.
So,
Phillies and Twins.
All right. Sort of different, And then the other thing, too, is I don't know if you saw that the A's are actually going to play in the Las Vegas. What are they, 76ers or 49ers or whatever? They're AAA affiliate in Vegas. They're going to be playing 6 games at the minor league ballpark in Las Vegas.
The Aviators.
Is it the Aviators now? I remember when they were the 49ers.
They used to be the 51.
51. All right.
Yeah.
I wish I would have done the Giants there because that would have been fun. To go to Vegas to see the Giants and A's.
But when the A's thing happens, that will be nice. That we can go to Las Vegas and see the Giants play occasionally.
Yeah. Something different,
because they do it. I mean, normally with a interleague play, it'd be every other year. But the Giants, since the Giants and the A's have that rivalry, they play each year at both ballparks. Yeah, so hopefully they keep that going.
And then one last thing, Dallas, I wanted to ask you, what do you think of that expansion? I didn't like that at all, where we won't have the Giant Dodger rivalry anymore. Did you happen to see
that? Will never happen. I saw that, and that was. And I
didn't know. Is it Utah that's having the expansion team? So
they said Utah. They said I saw some that said Charlotte or Charlotte. I saw some that said Nashville. I saw some that said Oakland.
Oh wow, okay. Just in case the Vegas thing.
But I think maybe the one that I saw, any of them that had the Giants and the Dodgers not in the same division, must have just been AI generated, where the machine doesn't know what the hell is going on. There's no way it would be possible for the Giants and the Dodgers to not be in the same division. But if it's Dodgers, it would mostly be the same for us. Dodgers, Giants, Padres, and Mariners, or what was it? There was or Portland
coming back. Portland.
Maybe Portland. There was going to be basically 4 teams, or all of them in California. The Angels were going to be the Angels, the Dodgers, the Padres, and the Giants. I did see that one, which it'd be fine if they wanted to kick the Diamondbacks out and have them be with the Rockies in the Midwest, or not Midwest, whatever they call that mountain time zone.
The Rocky Mountain area,
Rocky Mountain is fine. If they had a Utah team, that could be in that group. I'm not opposed to it. I think having 32 teams, why not? Some of the divisions don't make sense right now, where certain teams are thrown in with other teams, just that geographically don't make sense. I know they were talking about just travel times for the teams. It would make scheduling easier and flight times lower. And
these guys fly first class. My God, it's not like they get bussed, for 12 hours.
Yeah, no, that's true. But you always hear a lot of complaining about it. But I don't know. I just think most things that Manfred does, you got
a question.
I don't know. I just think he can screw things up pretty easily if he is trying too hard. And the golden batter thing that someone floated, if that was his idea, it was stupid. But the pitch clock's okay. I think the automated balls and strike challenge system will be fine if it's just a couple pitches a game, they can tip their hat. But I'm always of the belief that it's not broken. It doesn't need to be fixed. It's been the same for over 100 years, and let's just keep it how it is.
Yeah.
But they always want to tinker with things, and adding, they've always added teams in the past. So if they want to add more and kind of make the game bigger, fine by me.
I think the biggest change I remember beside the bases is people forget Milwaukee was an American League team.
Yeah.
And the Houston Astros were a National League team.
Right.
And originally, in our division, we had Atlanta, Houston, Cincinnati, San Diego, and the Dodgers. It was sort of bizarre,
Right.
but
Yeah, it was weird.
yeah,
And they did it's I don't know, because they got rid of the pitchers
interleague.
hitting.
Oh,
Yeah, they
pitchers
got
hitting,
rid of the DH. So American League, National League, there's no difference between the leagues anymore. They're the
and
same
you play
thing.
each other.
And they all play each other. So
Yeah.
there's no real reason why they can't shuffle things around just to make things make more sense.
Yeah.
So
and they've cut down the hours. The games aren't 3 hours and 20 minutes. They made the rules so now it's like 2:20. Only thing I would change is I do like, because I think these umpires, I don't know if they're just old or they have other things on their mind, because this year is probably one of the worst I've ever seen, where they're missing strikes right over. And I thought, in the All-Star game, it was nice where you could actually challenge a couple. But I mean, it would be, again, I don't know if it'll ever come about because of the union, the umpires union. They don't want to make them look bad, but they got to do something, because
the challenge system is coming. I can almost guarantee it'll be here next season.
Yeah.
And I think it's definitely needed, because they just need something to keep the umpires honest, because they're not going to demote them to AAA and then bring up the guys that are rising stars and the umpires and actually have it be, based on merit and based on your ability as an umpire.
Yeah.
They just get grandfathered in and can carry on forever. And it seems like, because they take so much heat now, because everyone has the box on their phone and they can see exactly how, and these report cards come out on Twitter every day about how many calls they botched. So they have a tough job. There's no getting around that, but I agree with you completely. It's the worst umpiring I've ever seen. And even when they didn't have the box, you could tell, okay, that's a strike, or okay, that's borderline. And you have a sense of the strike zone. But now there's calls that are so bad, it's like, what are they looking at?
And again, when they're like stealing second and it's a bang bang play, I don't have a problem with that, because it's human judgment. Some are going to be right, but the home plate, something's got to be done, because it's gotten to the point now where it's like really bad. And the
ones that are borderline, that are on the line or whatever, fine. They can call it whatever way you want, but the ones that are egregiously outside, there should be some recourse on that, just so that the umpires understand, hey, I'm going to look foolish if I keep messing these calls up. I better actually try and make these, get better at my game, as opposed to right now where whatever they say goes, there's no consequences, and no one really knows for sure. So, I would like to see that change, but I'm always a baseball purist where I don't like the change. I like the pitchers to bat, and I like to see double switches and all the strategy of the game in the National League that is now gone and will never come back.
No, I agree. I agree.
It's sad. It's not as good of a game. If I go back and watch the games, from the past, I have the DVDs from the World Series years, and then sometimes on YouTube I'll come across the game from the 90s, or and I'll watch it, and it's a different game now. It's completely different. They've changed it. And
it's sort of funny. The one thing I realized when I went down to San Diego, it was the first time I've seen 3 people keeping score in the scorebooks. And I remember growing up, I always had my scorebook when I went to a game, trying to see how many strikeouts somebody had, who made the error. It was like, it was just, it was sort of old school there. Now, it was a day game. It was a Thursday. 2 of the people were very old ladies who have probably been gone to baseball for like 50, 60 years, but they had their book. They had everything set. They, one of them said, hey, what was the name of the official scorekeeper? Because there was a bad call, so she even put the scorekeeper in the book, and you just sort of miss that. And I think you bring up a great point. The challenges, the double, you got to bring in a lefty. Okay, we got to bring in a righty. Who do we have left?
Right.
And
the strategy was much more.
Baseball. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's not coming back. We'll just have to
and we had
remember
Bochy,
that fondly. Yeah, he was the best.
Yeah. So.
Yep. And then Senior says ABS challenge is great, and it allows the catcher to still frame. That's right, because it's not going to be every pitch. If it's egregious, then but when you're framing a pitch, that's in the margin. So there might be a couple pitches where they tipped their cap and it turned out that he was able to move it into the strike zone, but it's going to be the borderline pitches. Dan always says this, where Bailey can, the ones that could be a ball or a strike, you don't know. More of those are going to be called strikes because he's able to frame the pitch better, and it's not it's not far enough outside to use a challenge on it.
Yeah.
But there will still be an advantage for the catcher to utilize those skills, those framing skills. So it's a good compromise, and it will, the ones that are completely wrong, then that can be corrected, and I think it helps get the umpires to have a little incentive to get things right. So
that's all we want, just see what you can do. So.
All right. Well, we have a game tomorrow, 12:45.
Yep, 12:45. We can get the sweep, and see if we can come up, and then we got the Orioles. So it's going to be dramatic. The other thing too, guys, somebody asked about our shows. I'm not sure. I'm actually leaving tomorrow, Dallas. I think a couple times you're going. So I know Hot Corner is definitely 100% on Sunday, but that's the only show I know about.
I think Ryan and I are going to do some post-game shows where we can, get the chat going and chat about the game and answer some questions and stuff like that. So there'll be some shows. I don't know the exact schedule, but Ryan's been messaging me.
Guys, remember,
to make it happen.
Starting next week, it's going to be different because you got NFL starting, especially on Sunday. So it's a week from Sunday that the NFL starts, and we're going to have the Giants. So a lot of our times might change. So make sure, if you're a subscriber, you'll know when the game's coming on. It's going to be one of those things where, I don't know. And plus, I'm not even sure when Dan's getting back, but just subscribe, beware, and you'll know when the shows are going to be coming on.
Yeah, and then, of course, the WNBA playoffs are coming up, and so we'll have to adjust the schedule for that.
Obviously, yeah. That's big. The Valkyries. So, all right. Well, guys, hey, we really appreciate you guys coming. Dallas, like usual, great job. And chat, without you, we wouldn't have a show. But, big Giants win tonight, and exciting. 12-3 win, 4 homers. Devers 4 for 4, definitely the player of the game. And, let's see if we can make it 5 in a row and sweep the Cubs tomorrow. I think that's the goal.
That's where they should start. Just win tomorrow.
Sounds good. All right, guys. Thanks again. You guys have a great night. And again, tomorrow, day game at Oracle.
See you guys. Bye.